Let's bring in now Senator Bridget McKenzie. Bridget, always great to have you here on Outsiders. We're not going to ask you to break dance. I bet you're a better break dancer than anyone here or anyone at the Olympics. But listen, there's lots of local news to discuss now, so let's talk about it. The first thing I want to mention to you is a great speech by David Harris, who's the CEO of the Australian Agriculture Company, and he made the point that the existential threats to farming and to agriculture in general are the greatest he's ever seen. And these threats come from climate activism, Greens, green tape, red tape, black tape. So many threats now upon the Australian farming industry, agricultural industry. Do you agree with him, Bridget?
Absolutely, Rowan, and great to be with you. I liked tortured poets back in the day rather than breakdancing, but yeah, it's great to get up early and see the 1,500-metre run by Jess Hull. But in terms of agriculture, I don't know what's happened in this country where we see farmers becoming the villains, which is essentially what we've got. It's not just the far left, as you've outlined, but indeed our own Labor Party, who's doing preference deals at the last elections with animal activists that have seen the shutdown of the live sheep trade in Western Australia, a state that absolutely gave Anthony Albanese the Prime Ministership. And so no matter where you look, we're seeing agriculture under attack. The end game, I believe, is the end of livestock production more generally in this country, which would be an absolute tragedy. And I think is based on a lack of scientific literacy across the broader community, because there's study after study demonising farmers and farming practices, which are really underpinned by dodgy science. The fact, you just look at the Olympic Village, if we're going to continue with the theme. We've got concerns that world records aren't being broken, because nobody can get enough protein into these athletes to actually power and fuel their absolute performance. And instead, these left-wing people are wanting to see lab-grown meat. I mean, the human being didn't become as big and strong and smart as we are by eating plants.
James.
Well, so we're going back to Parliament. Where is... We've seen some really interesting things happen over the last several weeks here. Number one, I think, is this fight between the RBA and the government on inflation, on interest rates, and this narrative of government spending. What sort of narrative can we expect as the government returns to Parliament this week about the way their irresponsible spending is driving up inflation? We've just seen another gift to another sector in the childcare sector with, I think, a 10% 15% wage gift with no productivity increase. At some point, when is the government going to acknowledge that it's making the problem worse?
Well, I don't think you're going to see that at all from this government, James. If you believe in doublespeak, aka 1984 style, this government's got it in spades. They ignore the laws of physics, which haven't changed just because they got into Parliament, and the laws of economics, which have underpinned the way the market has worked for centuries, and that continues. So what I think we're dangerously seeing is the RBA versus the Treasury versus Jim Chalmers, and the RBA I don't believe, won't be influenced by the Labor Party or the Treasurers pleading or begging or false economics. The reality is, Michelle Bullock couldn't have been clearer, state and federal Labor government's spending has made the economy hot. And that means inflation's going to stay higher than it needs to be for longer, and it's Australians who are paying the cost. And no matter how often Albo and Jim say that's not the case, doesn't change the facts. And I think you're seeing it in the suburbs, right around our country, that people are struggling with their mortgages, and the RBA will not be bringing those interest rates down until it can have some confidence that the government will get its spending under control.